4 minus 1, that's 3 quick maths. Everyday man's on the block.
So we're going to start off by looking at powers, and then we'll look at square roots. So remember from earlier in the year when we looked at indices? So indices and powers are the same thing. If I had something like 2 to the power of 3, that's the same as writing what? 2 times 2 times 2. All right, you don't have to write that. Now, it's no different with fractions, but there's some tricks that we can use or some strategies that we can use to help us square fractions. So our first example, I want you to write this one. Example 2f1. And we're going to determine what? 3 over 5. Now the brackets that I've drawn are very important, so make sure that you draw the brackets. 3 over 5 to the power of 2. Now using what we just said here, if 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2, what is 3 over 5 the same as writing? Evan? Good. 3 fifths times 3 fifths. Now we've already learnt how to do multiplication of fractions. Now is there anything that I can cancel there? No. So I just multiply my tops and bottoms, or numerators and denominators. So I'm going to get 9 over 25. Now that's one way to do a question like that. Now there's another way. Or if we have 3 over 5 squared, it's equal to, again the brackets are important, so make sure you write it in the brackets, because if the brackets weren't there and there was just a squared, it would look like we're only squaring the 3. Alright, but we're not squaring the 3, we're squaring the entire fraction. Now the trick that we can use is that we can square basically both numbers. So I can write this fraction as 3 squared over 5 squared. So can you see how I've just gone top number squared times over bottom number squared? Can we see it? 3 squared over 5 squared equals, now what's 3 squared? 9, or over, what's 5 squared? 25. So see how we get the same answer? So either of those ways are reasonable to determine the square of a fraction. Let's do one that's slightly different. This time we're going to go, again the brackets are important to write, 2 and a third squared. 2 and a third squared. Now as usual, when working with these, let's convert this to an improper fraction. We could actually do it as a mixed number if we wanted to, but I think for this example it would be easier to do it as an improper fraction. So would we all know, or we all do know, how to convert that? 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 7 over 3 squared. So all I've done is converted that to an improper fraction. Now you can use either one of our methods. You could write 7 over 3 times 7 over 3. I'm going to use this method here. So this can be written as what? How can I write that fraction, Lincoln? 7 squared over 3 squared. Good. 7 squared over 3 squared, which gives me 49 over 9. And there's no factor that I can cancel there, so that would be the simplest fraction. You could convert it back to a mixed number, which I will, and you would get 5 and 4/9. I don't really mind though. I've said this for the entire chapter. If you left it as 49 over 9 as an improper fraction, I'm happy with that. I like improper fractions. So in this example, we're going to go, rather than squaring numbers, we're going to take a square root. Now you'll notice this square root goes over both the numerator and the denominator. So what we can do, like in this example where when we squared an entire fraction, we made the top number squared and the bottom number squared, we do the same thing. This can be written as the square root of 100 over the square root of 144. And we all know that the square root of 10 is? What number can I multiply by itself to get 100? 10. So the square root of 100 is 10. And then what number can I multiply by itself to get 144? 12. So 10 over 12. Can that be simplified? Oh, I can divide top and bottom by 2. So if I divide 10 by 2, not Timbuktu, 10 by 2, I get 5. And 6 by 2, I get 6. So you get 5 over 6. Now just the last point I want to make here. If you didn't write square root of 100, if you didn't cover both numbers in that square root, and you wrote it like this, square root of 100 over 144, then what that is you're only doing the root of the top number. So the top one becomes 10, but the bottom number is still 144. Alright, so please make sure that if the question has it drawn over both, you do it, otherwise you get a completely different answer.